get more reaction on the cabinet changes now made by the president last night. I'm joined by Professor Sipho Seepe, who is also a political analyst. Prof, thank you very much for your time here on eNCA. Just first of all, let's discuss those ministers or former ministers in this instance who were seen to be problematic to the president in terms of, not towing the party line. We had Minister Zuma and Minister Sisulu. One of them axed yesterday. Was expected, wasn't it?
Yes, it was expected. And some people were also speculating that Minister Zuma would be removed. But I did not hold that view, precisely because every president would have to have around him people that would raise issues who can speak what you call truth to power. And Nkosazana is that minister who, even when he differed with the president could argue that the disagreement is a principal disagreement. And throughout her tenure as a minister and as somebody who had competed with President Ramaphosa, she had acted in a way that was very supportive of President Ramaphosa. Where there was a need for her to differ, she felt that her position as a disciplined member of the African National Congress dictated that she must speak out and she must take a position. And I think this is what President Ramaphosa has appreciated. And some people had argued that when it comes to Minister Sisulu, it was obvious that she was going to be axed, because there is no doubt that between the two of them there was a serious disagreement, to an extent where she almost suggested that the president had lied. One must also understand that ministers also have a responsibility, in as much as they may differ with the president, to give the president almost a way of covering up. And she was seen as somebody who had not done so. So it came as no surprise.
Yeah.
When it comes to Minister Mashabane, she was almost really absent throughout. We didn't see much of her. And so it didn't come much as a surprise. But nonetheless, the president has made his call.
Yeah. And Prof, looking at the ministry that now Minister Nkosazana Zuma is in, it's a ministry in the presidency. It is for women and youth and people with disabilities, etc. A lot of people are asking the question whether it's a demotion or maybe a matter of the president wanting to keep his enemies, for lack of a better word, closer in his office where he can keep watch on her.
Well, I think being in the presidency, it's also bringing her closer. But as I said, the Minister Nkosazana has never been somebody who was oppositional. She may have disagreed with the President Ramaphosa, but it was not her stance to undermine the president. So I think the president felt comfortable that this is a person I can work with. And also it's probably a way of simply saying, I accept that we may differ as members of the ANC, we may differ about leadership, we may differ about where we're going, but this comes from a heart that is well-meaning. And the president was sending that type of message, that the disagreements within the ANC are acceptable, but I also need someone in my space who's going to be able to tell me when I'm wrong.
Let's talk about the minister in the presidency responsible for monitoring, evaluation and planning. This is Minister Marupeni Ramokgopa. She's also the second Deputy Secretary General of the ANC. Yesterday, the SG of the ANC saying it was strategic to put her there so that they make sure that she carries the mandate of conference in terms of making sure that government performs. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it does make sense, especially from a perspective of where the party had been, or the executive has been accused of almost carrying out its mandate and not the mandate of the party. Now, having somebody in there who is also in the top 7, and also somebody who is going to look at the issue of monitoring, it's both a government performance, but also making sure that the government performance is also aligned to the party dictates or mandate, does make sense. But also we're talking about somebody who has also worked with the President Ramaphosa, because she was an international advisor. So she is coming, or the president is bringing also people closer to him that she's comfortable with. But the issue of alignment between the party and the government does make sense. That one of the accusations that had come throughout has been that here you have a president who seems to be getting his orders elsewhere. So one hopes, or one begins to see this as an attempt to make sure that that accusation is addressed. But as I say, these are what appears to be plans and intentions. It is only when they are acted out that one will be able to say that was a good move. But at the moment, on the face of it, it does seem to make sense.
Prof. Seepe, I think a lot of people were wondering, especially looking at Lindiwe Sisulu, and she said this before to the media that she doesn't like people referring to her parents. But at the end of the day, her parents were the cast and stone of the ANC at some point of that political party, and she was considered royalty of the ANC. So for her to be out, I mean, she served under quite literally all of the presidencies, actually, of the ANC ever since democracy. Is it something that's shocking? Is it something that you'd say Cyril Ramaphosa should be careful about? Does she still even have power, the kind of power that she used to have because of who her parents are?
I think the issue of power is often determined by political support on the ground, and it's also determined by political support within the party itself. So I also want to add that we should not undermine or underplay the fact that during the years of struggle, people like her had to leave their homes. They had to go into exile, and they contributed in their own personal capacity. So I know, as you do indicate, that she takes a great exception to the idea that she acts as somebody who's entitled. And well, she may have been lucky in the sense that she served under all president of this country. And that is something that will go down in history. And she can actually put it that presidents of this country have shown great confidence in her, that they agreed that she can serve. The fact that there comes a time when she had to go, one must simply see it as that. And also must also put it that she differed with President Ramaphosa. So he could not keep somebody who, for some people, saw as if she felt that she was either superior to him, or that she felt that he was not the right person to lead this country, as she had contested the position. But those are stuff that you get in politics. But one must not take away from her and her family the contribution that each one had made in the struggle when some people were pursuing their own professional careers. So I do think that somewhere there we should have a sense of understanding and empathy that throughout her life, when her father was in jail, the family could not be happy until he was released. So we should be happy that that family made its own contribution.
Yeah, definitely. Prof, I have to go to another analyst or another person who's going to react to this, but I have to ask you this question in terms of the new electricity minister, very first of its kind in South Africa, Kgosian Tsoramokgopa. What would you say in terms of his track record? But more importantly, I think he has the most difficult job for the ANC, because in a few months' time, South Africans are going to vote, and the thorn on our side as South Africans is the task that he is now facing, right?
Well, his job is the most difficult, but I would also say he is one person who I think will be equal to the task. He is one of the most brilliant and erudite ministers, and the most qualified. He brings a lot of experience, but you're also talking about somebody who himself is a civil engineer. So engineering is not something that he reads about. He studied that. But he also is somebody who, when you look at when he was executive mayor, understanding the complexity of government is something that he has been dealing with. But most importantly, there's a certain degree of humility that he brings. But it is more the erudition the brilliance that he brings to the table, and the fact that he also decided to study public administration and went in to do a doctorate in that field. But I do think that I could not imagine any other person among those who could have been in the position who would do a better job. He is the right person at the moment, but as what advice one will give is that he must also go back to those people who were in ESCOM, who under the leadership, they were able to address the load shedding. You don't throw expertise, especially when some of that expertise belongs to your own party. We need to learn from the others. And what we had in the last 5 years was a total disaster. And we should not have another derailleur who's going to take us into the land of darkness.